Good afternoon. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered on Treaty 6 territory. I would like to thank the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory for centuries. November is a housing month. And during this month, we often talk about the challenges, success stories, and future housing hopes. But I also want to take a moment to acknowledge that Indigenous Edmontonians experience houselessness and housing unaffordability disproportionately in our city. Roughly 1 in 12 people in Edmonton are Indigenous. And yet, nearly 6 out of the 10 people experiencing houselessness in Edmonton identify as Indigenous. 1 in 3 Indigenous households renting in Edmonton have no choice but to pay more than what they can afford or live in housing that does not meet their needs. These numbers point to the ongoing legacy of intergenerational trauma caused by residential schools, anti-Indigenous racism, and harmful policies. So I want to begin with a frank and honest acknowledgement that this issue remains with us. Ever since coming into office, I made it my priority to tackle one of the biggest challenges our city faces, housing. To put it simply, like most Canadian cities, Edmonton has a significant shortage of affordable housing. And if you are on a limited income, or if you have a large family, it can be extremely difficult to get by. Roughly 50,000 households, 1 in 7 in this city, pay more than 1/3 of their income on housing. For renters, that number is 1 in 4. This is called being in core housing need. When people are faced with high rental rates, they're forced to make difficult choices. It might be to live in an overcrowded or unsafe conditions, or to choose between buying food or paying rent, or forcing many working families to rely on the food bank. We have seen from our housing needs assessment that Edmontonians from many backgrounds are just scraping by. Single moms escaping domestic violence, seniors on fixed incomes, families with health challenges or disabilities, newcomers trying to put together a new life in a new country. Many of these families live under the constant fear of losing what they have. Prior to the pandemic, Edmonton was regularly acknowledged as a national leader in housing. Through Homeworld Trust's Housing First approach, more than 15,000 people have been housed since 2009. But during the pandemic, many of these gains were lost. I have referenced many times that the number of people experiencing houselessness in Edmonton has doubled. In addition, social agencies struggle to meet increased demand for services. Because of these pressures, we have seen all levels of government expand services, even in areas that weren't traditionally supported by governments, such as the federal government funding new bridge housing spaces, the province funding new temporary shelter each winter, and the city providing its own facilities for temporary shelter spaces, supported day-to-day shelter spaces and outreach workers, and helped build a meaningful amount of new affordable housing for the first time in 40 years. Through 2020, your city council has continued to step up in addressing these unprecedented circumstances. But we cannot do it alone. The provincial and federal governments must continue to partner with the city and invest in housing if Edmonton is going to have a chance at economic and social recovery. We need to change the way we talk and think about affordable housing. We need to stop treating affordable housing as a perk or a nice to have. Instead, we need to see it as core infrastructure. We never stop building roads. We never stop building our transit systems. We never stop building fire halls or recreation centers. So why do we stop building affordable housing? From the 1960s to 1980s, all levels of government built public housing in Canada. Most of the 15,000 units of affordable housing in Edmonton currently have been built during that period. But in the 1990s, the federal government stopped investing in social housing. And the cascading effect of this choice has been felt throughout the country. We are now playing catch up on this key infrastructure, while nearly 50,000 Edmonton households spend more than what they can afford on housing. To this day, organizations like HomeEd and Savira manage thousands of government-owned housing units, which provide many Edmontonians safe, secure, and affordable homes. We didn't get to where we are overnight, and we are not going to get out of this overnight. Why is affordable housing core infrastructure? Because housing provides stability. Housing is prevention, and housing is safety. First, housing is a stabilizing force during economic uncertainty. Over the past 2 years, we have seen what can happen when we face challenging economic conditions. When you lose your job or become ill, or when household costs go up significantly, getting by can be almost impossible. Housing might even fall out of reach. But consider this. Even with massive inflation spikes of the 1970s, we never saw the level of houselessness that we are seeing today. That is because throughout the country, there was a growing supply of affordable housing that provided breathing room. Affordable housing can be a stabilizing force during tough times, but it can also help when the economy is booming and prices are going up. Edmonton experienced a significant economic boom roughly 15 years ago. Unemployment levels dropped, help wanted signs were everywhere, housing prices soared, rents skyrocketed. And because of that, houselessness increased. Even with a strong economy, the benefits were not felt by everyone. Affordable housing levels out the consequences of economic peaks and valleys and protects families from the destabilizing forces of boom and bust cycles. Secondly, housing is prevention. Without a safe, stable, reasonably priced home, choices become severely restricted. Instead of making the best choice possible, I might make the only available choice. It is very difficult to prioritize nutrition, education, be able to get a better job, or escape poverty when your housing is unaffordable, unlivable, or unsafe. The costs are even more glaring when we look to Edmontonians experiencing houselessness. On the individual level, houselessness is extremely dangerous. Unhoused folks are often in high-risk situations and end up being heavy users of urgent care and emergency services, which come at a premium. These costs affect provincial health care and the justice system budgets, but also increase demand on provincially funded supports like emergency shelters. Municipal budgets are also impacted. City spends more on policing and fire costs and more on upkeep of public transit facilities and public spaces. From a purely fiscal lens, studies show that it is cheaper to house people and provide necessary support services than to rely on emergency services or the justice system to address houselessness. Investing in housing lowers emergency service costs, poverty-related risks, and costs to the public. Third, housing is safety. I think of Abby, the mother in the video you will watch at the end of this session. when I think of housing as safety. You will see the difference that Nigin and supportive housing made in her life, and how safety is a huge part of that story. Housing and sports like those provided by Nigin Homeward Trust or at Bissell Center Hope Terrace have a transformative impact on folks in core housing need or with complex support needs. Housing also provides safety by decreasing risks associated with houselessness like violence, trauma, mental health concerns, illicit substance use. I have heard from businesses, residents, and community leaders that perceived and real safety issues increase as more of our neighbors lose their housing. The facts are that if we invest in getting people into stable and appropriate housing, it makes our economy stronger, our streets more vibrant, and everyone in our communities safer. I'm happy to say that I think we are already moving in that direction at City of Edmonton. In 2018, City Council mandated a new proactive strategy that emphasized the leadership role the city can play. More than $130 million were set aside for 4 years to help create 2,500 units of affordable housing and 600 units which would be supportive housing. Over the past 4 years, City has surpassed these targets, supporting 2,728 affordable housing units, including 644 supportive housing units. But as we go into the new 4-year budget cycle, we have to continue to prioritize housing and keep our track record of success going. One of the key changes made in the past 4 years was a new grant program to help organizations build affordable housing, the Affordable Housing Investment Program. In this program, City partners with organizations to help them navigate the land and development process and provides grants to cover up to 1/4 of the building construction costs. In 2022, City Council approved 10 affordable housing projects and 823 affordable homes spread to every corner of Edmonton. I want to remind everyone that for every dollar that City is investing, another $6 are coming from other funding sources. This is the power of collaboration and the value of consistency. Another key milestone we have seen is the completion of supportive housing projects. Supportive housing combines affordable rents with staffing and support to keep residents who would struggle in other forms of housing. And thanks to the federal government's Rapid Housing Initiative, we have been able to fast track more supportive housing in Edmonton. This year, construction has finished on 4 of the 5 modular supportive housing sites that came together through a partnership between the city and the Homeward Trust. The 5th site should be officially finished in the next few days. The first residents have started moving in, and we will be gradually moving in the coming weeks and months. These 5 sites received support from the Government of Canada, and one of these sites was made possible through the province. As the days get shorter and colder, we are keenly aware of how important it is to have a warm and safe place to live. As we move ahead, my priority is to make sure the City of Edmonton continues to do its part. We are facing pressures around inflation and costs that will make it challenging to push ahead. It will take creativity, collaboration, and hard work to treat affordable housing as core infrastructure. Not just from my fellow council members, but from our partners in the province and federal government. It will take continued effort from nonprofit organizations and other affordable housing developers that are leading the way with new projects. It will take the work of indigenous organizations, nations, and housing advocates. It will take continued advocacy and action from many of you here today. I know there's been an incredibly challenging couple of years. Many of you have balanced your own challenges of pandemic life with tireless work to help fellow Edmontonians. Your hard work may not always be acknowledged or seen, but it is inspiring to me. Thank you for your continued passion. As I leave you, I want to share a new video that really shows why we focus on housing. This is the first time this video has been screened. It offers a powerful glimpse into the stories of people who live in supportive housing and into some of the projects that City has helped support over the past few years. I hope next time you walk or drive by one of these buildings, you remember the power of housing and how it is key to building an Edmonton for all of us. Thank you so much again.
Permanent supportive housing is somewhere that provides wraparound supports to individuals 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You are never without supports close by, and those supports encompass all your health, your wellness, your mental well-being, your physical well-being, and your spiritual well-being.
I think there's a lot of different things that lead to people needing supportive housing.
You don't become homeless because things are just hunky-dory in your life. You become homeless because of a huge series of things that happen and fall into place.
Without supportive housing, most of our residents would not be able to sustain housing.
My name's Abby and I'm 23, and I was homeless on the streets before I got into supportive housing. The whole reason that I wanted to live in permanent supportive housing was to be able to provide a life for my kids and to be able to do it successfully. When I walk through the doors, I feel happy to be home. I feel safe and supported.
So when you provide people with the support that they need, they're able to maintain and sustain their housing. There are multiple supportive housing sites within the City of Edmonton, and all of the buildings are kind of embedded into different communities throughout the entire city.
And so different things you'll see are things like independent living skills, financial supports, medical management.
We offer a weekly cook and eat program where our occupational therapist finds a recipe and breaks it down step by step. And then the residents go with her to get the groceries. They wash everything, they prepare everything, they cook everything, and then they share the meal together.
There's like a camaraderie in the building, a community within the building.
Supportive housing looks different depending on what building you live in and what program you are a part of.
Very low level support, medium level, highest intensity, even higher than highest intensity.
When you walk in the front doors at our permanent supportive housing site, you walk into the ceremony room. You walk in to see a room full of people playing cards, enjoying laughs together. You'll see staff and residents engaging, and you might not know which are which. You smell coffee, you smell the food cooking. So as soon as you walk in here, you see a welcoming environment, a safe environment that feels like home. All the residents have their own apartments with their own kitchens, their own bathrooms, their own bedrooms, and we ensure that they're all furnished. They have their own TV, and we provide them cable. Typically, people wake up, they come downstairs, they eat breakfast, and we all eat together. And then we go in the ceremony room, and we start singing and doing a check-in. We burn medicines and we drum. After that, people all go in different directions. Some people head down to the Coop or the Hope to visit with their friends. Some people stay home all day, they play crib, they play chess. We do arts and crafts every day in the craft room. Somebody might be in there doing some bead work, doing some leather work, sewing, making ribbon shirts. We have embedded social workers, we have embedded addictions counselor, we have embedded rec therapists, we have embedded occupational therapists from Alberta Health Services.
We teach them coping skills, living skills, so that when they go out into the community, they have some good tools and strategies in their life to be safe. And when they come back home, it's a good feeling to know that they know this is home.
Living here is different than my other housing experiences because there's support there to not fall back into addictive patterns. It's structured here. The resident manager here makes sure that everyone is safe and that there's not unsafe people around or random people coming and going. Since living here, I feel like I have a place to belong. When you walk into the building, there's always someone down there, and someone's always smiling or waving or asking you what's up or how your day was. It's like a community, and it's a healthy community. You don't feel alone. You're always connected to your cultural aspect. If you need something, you can reach out, and there's always someone here.
Once they move in here, they don't have to search for money for food. They don't have to search for money for shelter. Their fear is gone. Their trauma responses are gone. People want their communities to be safe. They want them to be clean, and they want to take care of the people that they see as elders, no matter what color of skin that is.
So the cost of not handling and serving people who are experiencing homelessness and the cost of doing nothing, it's huge.
We took just the 42 participants living here. We worked with Alberta Health Services. We got all their EMS engagements and how much total money. Their hospital beds are $1,500 a day, how much these 42 people access those services 2 years prior to living here, and then how many times those people access the services 2 years after living here.
The biggest thing I've seen people achieve is just having the housing, like people who otherwise wouldn't have housing at all. And then taking care of like their medical needs and their physical health and their mental health, and creating healthy friendships, learning what a healthy friendship is. I've seen multiple people in the building do those things since living here and have hope for the future.
We've seen the numbers of people who are experiencing homelessness increase in the past 2 years. What does that mean? That means we need to step up and really work to support people to not continue funneling into homelessness. We also have to increase the funnel out of homelessness. We have to push for the right types of supports.
Before living here, I viewed the future as kind of hopeless, a struggle to get nowhere. Since living here, I now see the future as something to look forward to.